Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Chopping Block Podcast. My name is Paddy Stapleton, and every week I sit down with a different guest for a chat about food. Some of my guests make their living within the food and drinks trade, while some just love food. I chat to someone new every week, exploring a little bit of their lives through food. Some of my guests you might have heard of before, some you definitely won't know. What unites all these people are the stories they have to tell about the role that food and drink plays in their lives. So sit back, put your feet up, resist the temptation to pour yourself a glass of Buckfast, and enjoy this episode of The Chopping Block. My guest this week was one of the first people I reached out to when I was setting up this podcast, as I wanted to use the music you're hearing now as my theme tune. He's the guitarist and singer in one of Ireland's best bands, who also happened to be named after that quintessential Irish food staple, the ham sandwich. After a gig supporting some of the world's biggest acts, including Bon Jovi, Arcade Fire and Mumford & Sons, they emerged in their own right as one of Ireland's biggest acts when they scored a #1 hit album with the superb Stories from the Surface. Their live gigs are legendary, and I count their Electric Picnic set in 2017 as one of the best live shows I've ever been at. As well as that, he's one of the coolest guys I know and a fashion inspiration to all men everywhere. Podge McNamee, welcome to the pod, and thank you for sitting down with me.
Cheers. And yeah, thank you for acknowledging that I'm sitting down.
We'll start with 20 either-or questions. These are all either-or. They'll help us learn a little bit about you. Interpret them any way you want. Yeah. You can go into detail or fly through them, whatever suits you. And hopefully by the end, we'll have a little flavour of what your tastes are. Okay, so breakfast or lunch?
Oh, breakfast.
Cranberries or red hot chili peppers?
Has to be cranberries.
Gin and tonic or vodka and soda?
Gin and tonic.
Sliced white pan or homemade brown bread?
Homemade brown bread every time.
Pink snack, purple snack or yellow snack?
Oh, what's the one with all the chocolate? That's a big thick amount of chocolate on it. I think it's a small club. Is it
purple
club?
Purple.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Drink during a gig or sober until it's done?
I would have been drink during a gig right up until maybe even the last only year, and now I'm like, technically I'd ideally not like to drink.
Okay.
During a gig, sober up.
Knife and fork or fingers?
Depends who's with you.
Yeah, it's a big
if
one.
You're on your own, if you're on your own hands, if you're knife and fork, if you're on a date, or you're in the company of anyone who would not appreciate.
Okay, I'll let you away with that one. Beef or salmon?
Beef.
Romantic dinner for two or dinner out with the band?
Oh, you knacker. That's really put me on the spot. Oh, I'm going to have to play it safe. Romantic dinner for two.
The fact that you had to think about it says it all. Pint of Guinness or something crafty?
I'd have to go standard pint of Guinness once it's good.
Okay. Quality Street or Roses?
Roses.
Deep fried onion rings or deep fried Mars bar?
Oh, I would definitely say the onion rings in the tower that don't have a hole in them.
You know, French fried onion rings, is it?
It's just like a whole wheel of onion. Yeah. There's no hollow.
Beans or no beans?
Beans, yeah.
Buckfast from a glass or swig straight from the bottle?
It depends on the mood. Because if you're feeling fancy, ice and a slice of lime. But if you're feeling a bit rough and ready and you're out at a festival or something, it has to be bottled.
I can honestly say I've never seen anybody put lime into a glass of Buckfast.
You don't knock it till you try it.
Aldi or Lidl?
Very tough question, because I used to always think Aldi, and I still think Aldi are brilliant at promoting Irish and promoting incredible Irish startup companies, but Lidl are starting to kind of catch on to that, and Lidl do have, in general, I just think Lidl across the board have just about take it, but it's not, there's not a lot in it.
Okay. Brown M&M's in the bowl or all the brown ones taken out?
I'd say Reese's Pieces.
Soft-boiled eggs or hard-boiled eggs?
Soft, definitely.
Ham sandwich with mustard or ham sandwich with mayo?
Mustard.
Whiskey neat or whiskey with ice?
One ice cube.
One ice cube. Okay. And last question, is a Jaffa cake a cake or is it a biscuit?
I think biscuits are nice.
Right, well, let's talk a little bit about food. Food and you. So I asked a couple of people on Instagram to put up questions. And one of the questions that came back, and I know you're fed up talking about the name of the band in all these interviews, but how did you settle on the name Ham Sandwich?
It's I don't know how inappropriate this is, but basically it was. I can say this nice and quick. It's random how it happened, but we got a phone call on the spot in a rehearsal room. We'd no name yet, and the guy was like, "Look, we're giving you a gig, and we need a name. We're doing up the posters." So I remember just giving it. Just the first name that came into my head was the Famous Five, because it was five of us, and he was like, "All right." So we go down to the venue and we see this name on a poster, the Famous Five, and I was kind of, I don't know if it was me that got to thinking, but I did kind of go, "That's mad! Like you could literally just come up with any old crap or any name, and it will land on a poster." And I think that went into the rehearsal room the next time after the gig. Like we'd done the gig as Famous Five. Next time we met, we were just trying to out sort of with each other with silly band names.
Yeah.
And what genuinely two band names before Ham Sandwich, I remember saying the Stephen Hawkins treadmill experience, and it was a good laugh for that. And then I know, yeah. And then there was another one. Someone suggested one other one. I remember that clearly. That was very funny. And the strangest thing was, John Moore, who was our bass player at the time, he said Ham Sandwich, and nobody really laughed. But nobody said that's the one we'll pick. It was literally the last name suggested on the night, so it kind of was almost like, I don't know how we ended up being called Ham Sandwich, because no one confirmed, yeah, we'll go for that. It was just like the last name that was suggested. It was nearly like those, those thread spoilers. Like there's loads of people writing funny stuff in the thread, and then someone comes in with something that throws everyone off.
Yeah.
And it spoils the thread. That's what it was like.
And it stuck.
Yeah.
And do you get fans bringing ham sandwiches to your gigs and presenting them to you on stage?
No.
Really?
we did really early on, and like we kind of made a joke of ourselves. Like we would have had one or two nights where we might have even had ham sandwiches, and we'd give them out into the crowd and stuff like that. But it was
Gimmicky.
kind of, yeah. Well, it was more just, I don't know. Part of us, we don't mind the name, but like part of us we don't really particularly want to focus too much on it either.
Yeah. Well, I reached out to Niamh and to Darcy, and both of them told me that you're a foodie, and that you love your food and you savor everything you eat. So much so that the nickname you have in the band is "Are you finished yet?" Because you're always looking at their food, going, "Are you finished yet?" Because you want to eat their food. Is this all true?
It's unbelievably true, which is weird. Yeah, someone calls me Podge 50 sauces as well, because I just love.
They mentioned that as well. Niamh told me that one of our earliest memories of meeting you was on the bus of hanging out with you, was on the bus to Kells, and you were making sardine sandwiches with ketchup and stinky cheese on the bus. So a lovely first food memory she shares with you. Should we be glad that you weren't called stinky fish sandwiches?
It's a strange one, because that's a good point. No, I do genuinely, like, I'm a slow eater just naturally anyway, but sometimes it's kind of half and half, where I'm slow anyway, but I really do, if I like something, I relish it. But it's funny because I'm not fussy. I've never been really fussy. Like I'd literally have a slice of bread, a slice of toast with just mayo on it or something, Yeah. But at the same time, I can appreciate something, very good at the same time,
Okay, and let's go way back to your childhood. You have a big family.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's like 7 kids, and I'm nearly certain I have something like 20 nieces and nephews at the minute.
Nearly certain.
Counting. Something like 20. It's a massive extended family anyway. Like if we go on a hotel getaway, there's something like 35 of us. It's kind of.
And what kind of family were you growing up? Did you all eat together, or was there room around the table for you all?
We kind of never really did, no. And if it's in a strange way, we're I don't know if it's a Kells thing, but we're an incredibly close family. But maybe when we were young, there was a bit of that, but not really. We're all a bit sort of wild and active, and the house was sort of plenty of room to just fly around the place. But yeah, I don't really remember ever any evenings where there was like a proper formal meal, unless it was like Easter or Christmas.
Just eat when you can.
Yeah.
What kind of family were you for eating? I mean, what was a typical McNamee family dinner?
Oh, it just depends. My mother definitely has the classic, roast, Sunday dinner. Funnily enough, a lot of people would comment on her portions. Like, her portions are outrageous. Like, they're, I don't know, there would always be leftovers, and not because the food wasn't good. It's just like
so much of it.
She didn't ever portion right.
Well,
yeah.
With 7 kids in the family, that'd be understandable.
Yeah. So it's funny. Like, I know Brian was on your podcast. I think it was could have been him or Neve in the band will even tell you. She was down in our house for literally 2 hours one day, and she basically might as well have gotten 2 different dinners within the space of 2 hours, and she wasn't there for food. Like, so my mother used to always be cooking, like, just constantly have spuds at the ready. But I'm just trying to think what was a classic. She'd make the kind of stuff which makes sense, that would feed a lot of people. Like, my mother makes a lovely stew. She makes a decent shepherd's pie, and it's kind of, I don't really make much stew, but that's one thing that I kind of try to keep as well, is shepherd's pie. I make a good shepherd's pie based on the fact that, like, I've been so used to having a shepherd's pie and I like it.
So I suppose with 7 kids coming and going all the time, she just needed food to fill you.
Yeah, big time. I don't know how she did it. Like, her shopping would be, the whole car, the back of the car, the back seats. It's definitely not normal, but it would have been normal for years to me. Like, we would have had very liberal. I remember clearly having genuinely, which is kind of disturbing now, but my mother would let me and my brother Barry have tablespoons of sugar on our Rice Krispies. Like, there'd be no rules. Everything was just like whatever you understood. Like, like if I went to my Auntie Carmel's, say my parents went away on holidays, it was a totally different set of rules. Everything was like, no, you shouldn't have the sugar in your cereal. You need to brush your teeth here and there, put the toilet seat down, go to bed. And the portions were kind of, what's this? This is normal size portion.
Very good. And you had a brother who worked in Cadbury's, I'm told.
Oh yeah, my brother John used to work for Cadbury's for a good few years, and it's bizarre because he'd get all the kind of stuff that was only just gone off. And I have a story about that, actually. So basically, the shed, our garage, my father's main garage in our old house in Kenlis Crescent, on the loft, if that's what you call it, there was literally, I would say, no joke, 100 boxes. The boxes of chocolate bars that would hold maybe 100 bars in a box. There was genuinely up to, at any given time, 100 boxes, like 2 pallets worth of chocolate just on top of the loft in the garage. And you could just go up there anytime you wanted and take 6 caramellos, or it was a bizarre thing. I'm not even joking. But basically, I should have to. And we had a little shed next door. We had like a secret. I think we were called a Secret 7 or something like that. Me, Brian, and Andrew Ship, who and a gang of us from the Grove and Kenneth Crescent would be in our shed next door to the garage, and there'd be a bit of a kind of like a club meeting, and then we go get some chocolate from the garage. But I remember once down in Cork, my brother used to work for Cadbury's down in Cork for a while, and we were both out on the front lawn in Cove where the Cadbury's had set my brother up. And my brother Barry was eating a chomp bar, and he just took one bite out of a hardened chomp bar. It must have been winter, and it hit me on the side of the ear, and my ear was pumping blood.
From a chomp.
Yeah.
With all this chocolate in your shed, I'm guessing you were a popular boy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't remember being. We must have kept it fairly quiet, because only the likes of Brian and a few people that I remember of knew about it. And I think the fact that it was gone off by at least 2 months took the appeal away a little bit as well. And I was out like sitting in a potentially rat infested garage.
But it didn't stop the Secret 7.
No.
And you used to have an unusual breakfast on your way to school. I'm told you used to have a full Cadbury's Swiss roll on your way to school.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, the square one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done some. Yeah, like that's the thing. I don't really have. I'm a man of variety. I like to change it up. But no, I do. I definitely have a terrible. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate to this. Like I can wake up and genuinely have anything. There's nothing that would turn my stomach, which is a very bad thing. Like I
Yeah.
could get up and have a packet of Mighty Munch and a loop de loop first thing in the morning. You know, whatever, whatever I fancy.
And when did you leave home?
I left home first. I went to Sligo when I was 19, and wasn't a massive fan. And then I think I went back to Kells for a little while, and then I moved up to Dublin again around a year later, and was working in a telesales. So I've been in kind of pretty much in Dublin more or less since I was 20. There might have been a few little bit in between.
Was it hard leaving the bosom of the mother's dinners where there was constantly food on the go to go out on your own and have to cook for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Because I kind of had I don't know whether it was. It's hard to explain, but I used to just like spend so little on food when I was young. Like in my early 20s, like even if I had money, I'd prefer to save and spend it on like crap, like beans on toast, or like I wasn't a noodle man, or the pot noodles or anything like that, but I wasn't far off that. Like wasn't great. Um, yeah, I'm only really starting to get my act together in the last year or two, properly, where I'm forcing myself to cook nearly every night, and like fresh ingredients and stuff like that.
And what got you into food? Like, I'm told you're a bit of a connoisseur and you like traveling to eat food. And what did you were you adventurous? Was it because you were used to having good food at home?
I actually, good question. I genuinely don't know. I just know I've always been. It's funny, like some people hate me when I go out with my family to eat. Like, say I was in Vanilla Pod and Cows or whatever. I'd nearly be saying to the people who I know are happy with sharing, can I sit beside you? Because I just I'm notorious for, like, say there's 5 starters on the menu. I'd be delighted to try all 5. Like, obviously not eat all 5, but like try all 5. And but I'm the same. It works both ways. Like I'm more than happy to share my food no matter what it is.
And let's talk about like when you started Ham Sandwich and you started getting successful and you're touring with like Bon Jovi and Arcade Fire and the National and Mumford and Sons. Would you be hanging out with them? Would you be eating with them? Would you be drinking with them?
It really all depends. It depends on how busy they are. Like, no, like the likes of we've definitely the National. We played with them in Marley Park, but it wasn't that kind of a day where you'd be eating with them. But like the majority of the band, bar Matt, actually were all hanging out with us for most of the night, and they're all lovely. Arcade Fire as well, similar kind of thing. It's usually the non-stars or the non-leads that show their face. Great time at Mumford. We definitely, like, Mumford and Sons, they get a bit of stick for being like this kind of, Catholic folk band, but they're really decent guys and really good fun and very, very accommodating. They were super accommodating to us.
In what, as in, I mean, I was at that gig in the Phoenix Park, and at the end you all came out on stage with them, and it looked like you were having an absolute ball.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, like they kind of pushed to get us on that because MCD had already got the support all wrapped up, and even like this is how kind of sound it was. Their banjo player Winston heard Ants and was a fan of Ants. Like, I'm not sure how big of a fan he was, but there was people involved that he was going out with a girl at the time that was my girlfriend at the time, and there was a bit of camaraderie outside of things, but he heard Ants and he pushed MCD to get us on the bill as well, and like made a bit of a song and dance out of us as well. Obviously, like he let us on stage, but like they'd spent the whole day with us pretty much. There was no like, this is our dressing area and this is yours. Like there was no dressing room. Yeah, no, the whole crew, like Edward Sharp and the Magnetic Zeros, they were there, but everyone was pretty much all just hanging out in a kind of a kumbaya style, like fire pit sort of thing.
And did you go in the beer with them all after?
I can't remember if that was the one. There was one gig where Ham Sandwich organised a bus from the venue up to Whelan's, and a load of people jumped on. And Hosier was actually one of them, and he was up the front with me. It was just mad, but like, yeah.
Do you have to pinch yourself sometimes? I mean, when you walked out on the stage at Slane, that must have been some buzz.
Slane was a funny one because it was there was elements of Slane that was one of the best days of my life, but then there was other elements with just like nerves, and it was a very unusual setup for us because our monitor mix was downstairs under the stage, and that's not usual for a gig. Yeah, well, in terms of food, actually, Slane was, to this day, hospitality wise, like, I mean, during the day was outrageous. There was like a 10 table long buffet spread. It looked like something out of, like, you know, Gone with the, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, it was like, you know, chocolate dipped strawberries would have been probably the most common fodder on the table. You know what I mean? It's outrageous stuff on the table.
And what about drink?
Yeah, I think it was the same. There was like a cocktail bar, so there was mojitos and all sorts of things like that. But yeah, Slane was incredible. There was a big party at the end, and I had to be taken off in a bus to be put to bed, pretty much. But like, most of the band got to hang on for most of the night, and there was like a big party down in the basement of the castle with like food being still given out and drink and sing songs and all sorts of stuff. But I was probably asleep.
You made the most of it and tipped off.
Yeah. Overdid it.
And what about so COVID? Live bands, not good for COVID.
It's a funny one because I feel like, in a way, I feel blessed, and obviously you'd immediately feel the exact same, the opposite, like that. There's a lot of bands that I could see up and coming, and I was getting excited for. Like, there was bands like The Academic and bands that you can clearly see working hard, that are on the rise, like big time, like DC Fontaine's, and that's a real like pushback for the likes of those bands. So I feel really sorry for them, genuinely.
Especially for the likes of ye that got so well known from gigging live. I mean, your live shows are an experience, and you probably wouldn't have been as successful if you didn't have that live show push. Would that be fair enough?
Yeah, no, I think so. You know, I totally agree. In a sense, for us, it's given us time to sort of take a bit of a backseat, but also, like, we're currently writing the fourth album, which is brilliant, because there was a genuine point, maybe just under a year ago, where it was a real will we won't we moment, you know, because it can get just life can get in the way, you know, and we're all getting a bit older, obviously, but thankfully there's still a very healthy drive there. Currently actually recording officially, and just before the most recent lockdown, we went into an amazing studio called Black Mountain. It's beside Black Mountain in Dundalk, but the place is, I swear to God, like, we've been to a lot of studios, and we've been blessed. We've been in good studios, but this one just has some particular magic in it. There's accommodation just next door, and it looks like some sort of a, you know, haven, like a commune or something, but it's like you're in the middle of nowhere. You could literally walk around in a towel, like, if you wanted, but it's incredible.
And tell me, when you're doing gigs, are you guys at the stage where you're allowed to have a rider? Do you make demands? How does that work?
Yeah, I know, like, it's pretty normal for the headline act to have a rider. It just makes it easier, because, like, otherwise you'd have to, it's time, you know, you could be driving from one venue to another, and it's usually sort of like part and parcel of your package, if that makes sense.
But how do you know how far to go?
Yeah, I part of me thinks there's been times where we've definitely gone too far, and then there's been times where you'd be like, oh, we could have milked that a bit more, but basically you're paying for it, like, you know. So, well, there's been times where we used to have like cigarettes on a rider, and that, I don't think that's a common thing. Like, back in the day, it would have been like maybe 2 boxes of Marlboro Lights, 4 bottles of Buckfast, 6, or, you know, like a bottle of whiskey, 48 bottles of beer, and things like that. There's a lot. There used to be a lot of booze in it, but it's funny now because we tend to just not have the time to take massive amounts of days off, so we're usually traveling anyway.
Yeah.
So the drink side, the alcohol side of things has actually toned down a bit. We'd be more happy to get a really good meal and a little bit of drink. But yeah, at the moment, it's just like 2 bottles of Buckfast.
What about food? Like, what would you demand on your rider? Because for me, a rider is, the band being arrogant and being, this is what we want, or we're not playing. And I know it's not like that. So what if you're looking for food? Are you saying I want specific things from specific places, or is it just give me a pizza and chalk ice?
Oh, well, it's funny. Like, we've been blessed. We've been really, really lucky. It just specifies on our contract, like with a gig, hot food. We might get maybe some sandwiches on arrival, like cold sandwiches, not too much, just to kind of, because you might be hungry when you just land. So there'd be, snacks, alcohol, but then and a hot meal. So it just depends on where you play. So hospitality can
Very.
be very varied. Like we went to a place, I think it was called Castle, but I'll never forget it. And this is just in Ireland, but they like, we went to this restaurant called El Greco. We all went upstairs, and it had this kind of Greek/Italian style vibe, but we all got like 3 or 4 courses each, and it was absolutely outstanding food. Like, that kind of food that like puts you on a high, like for at least a good day, like a solid 24 hours where you're still buzzing from because there's just everyone, you could tell that everyone was really appreciating how good it was, and again, funnily enough, the gig was outstanding as well, and like we should have been full and all groggy, but we were just such on a high. We had a really good gig as well, but like we've played, there's places like Mike the Pies in Listowel, where you land and like just pints of Guinness poured from the bar straight away while you're on stage, like setting up, and every place has their own little touch, which is magic. Like, that's what kind of keeps it interesting. Like, every little venue has its own charm. I'm forgetting places, like there's places like Dolan's in Limerick as well. They usually have like a specific menu that says ham sandwich. They cater. We don't ask for this, like, but they just literally cater their menu specifically for us.
And does it help that you're a likable bunch? I mean, would all bands be treated the same, or is it because they know you do well, and
I don't
maybe
really
because
know.
you don't make the demands?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think these places, depends on, I suppose, the relationship you build up. But like, we've an amazing relationship with Whelan's, for example, in Dublin. Like, we still, like, it's our daddy venue. It's the daddy for us. We love it. But like, I'd say there's a bit of that. Like, and then there might be venues that are literally trying to get a name for themselves, and that's why the hospitality is so phenomenal, because they're trying to have bands go back to Dublin, for example. Like, oh, we were in this place last night in the middle of nowhere, but Jesus, that fry up to get us the next morning was unreal.
Tell all your friends and get them to come down and play.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to say, it's funny, the power of the rider and the hospitality over because a lot of bands, no matter what the fee is, they don't tend to get a lot of money from that. It's usually back in the kitty, or just depending. But so that's why, like, I know bands that are signed wouldn't get a lot of money, depending on how big or small they are.
Yeah,
obviously. But some of them might seem really big, and they're playing around the world, but they're literally on 25 quid a day pocket money. So the hospitality is massive. Like, so the appreciation levels for how venues treat you is huge when it's good.
You see, you don't imagine this like, coming from my point of view, again, who knows nothing about it. You just assume that people touring the world are making loads of money. You wouldn't imagine that they'd be relying on really good food from the really good meals from the venue to keep them going.
Yeah, I know. I'd say no matter how big or small you are, you'll always remember a good meal. And even just like, just some of the hospitality staff in general across the board, like, down to like waiters, waitresses, you'll remember those, like, if they're good, and it will kind of make a big part of your night.
You're such a man of the people, Podge.
No, but you know what I mean? It is true.
Yeah.
Like El Greco, for example, that place in Castle, I forgot the name, but I was asking Neve just before the podcast here. I was like, what was the name of that place on that last tour? We were all upstairs, and it was like an Italian, and she looked it up and found out. But like, that was it was like going to heaven for us. It was amazing.
And how much did you eat off other people's plates?
Funnily enough, Neve is my perfect team member, because she's a reasonably good appetite, but like, she tends to, like, I usually clean plate the whole time, no matter what it is. It's clean plate, and then I'm looking for her leftovers.
She said that she eats like a bird, so you're always hovering around her. And tell me, when you're going to festivals like say the likes of Electric Picnic, or is it Bella Kazim that you guys played?
Benicassim, yeah.
Yeah. Do you get fed at these things, or are you eating from the same thing that the punter is?
Yeah, no, it's usually the same with festivals. You'll get a big spread. It's brilliant. Or else they'll give you like a voucher for one of the food stalls or for each day you're playing.
But it's not all vegan
And
hippie stuff at Electric Picnic, is it?
no, but it's quite healthy and the spread is really good. Like you could overdo it easily.
And do the bands all hang out?
Yeah, it's quite weird because like all area, like the catering area in Electric Picnic, I was in a queue once, and Henry Rollins was standing behind me, and then there was like a famous female actress in front of me. I can't remember. Could have been Carey Mulligan or someone was in front of me. Or you just never know who you're going to be sitting. Like I tend to get real weird around celebs. Like I kind of want to stay away from them. Not in a mean way. I'm just like, I don't know. It depends, I suppose. If I have a few drinks, I'm probably different. But like, if I was sober beside someone who I admire, I just know I just kind of embarrass myself. So I just stay well away. And I even like, I struggle to avoid the non-staring. And I even do that. Like, I barely even look at them. So they could easily think I'm really rude. But what I'm really thinking is, oh God, I'm just gonna get away from this person now.
And tell me, say yourself and your girlfriend, you want to get away from the band, you want to do, your own thing. Where do you go? Where's your go-to place for a romantic meal, for a special night for the two of you?
We don't have a straight up one. We've been away a few places. We were in Barcelona on a holiday. Jesus, it feels like that'll never happen. But we were in Barcelona once, and we were eating out all over the place, and it was great. But there was one morning where Magda was just researching restaurants that were literally, it was like, those near restaurants nearby or whatever, and she really liked to look at this one place, and I had a couple actual video demonstrations of the chef in action, like one or two, and it looked quite good. So anyway, we showed up at the restaurant really early. I think it was like genuinely could have been about 1:30 in the day, and they were all sitting at the table eating, the whole staff. There's about 6 of them, and the place was empty, and we were looking in, and then we were like, right, it's not open yet. We'll go next door for a beer, but like come straight back because we're not going to get in. It'll be sold out. I just had a good feeling it was that kind of place. And luckily I was right, because we went back and they told us they were booked up. And they obviously saw our faces like just all probably just drop. And one of them went, well, you could sit at the bar if you want. And we're like, yeah, perfect. So they put the three of us, it was myself, Magda, and her friend Lee. It was planned for about an hour or two, but we were there for about 6 hours. Wow. Something like that. We left drunk, and it was still bright. It's Barcelona, but we all had, no joke, I'd say probably 6 courses each. It was all really, really well priced courses, but it was a fish place, mostly fish, but it was absolutely incredible. One chef, and he was behind the counter, literally at his dead ease, constantly obviously working, but just at his dead ease. And I've never had food like it in my life, and none of us had. And the drink they had on selection was absolutely incredible. And then the whole thing came to like €150, and we ended up giving 210. I think we all gave 70 each, because it was that. And that was still nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one place. We've been to. We tend to kind of hunt, Magda, my girlfriend, is vegetarian mainly, but she'll dabble in fish the odd time, but she's not really, she's not a proper pescatarian where she'll eat fish the whole time. So she kind of spoils herself the odd time. We might go to a good fish place and get chowder, or get like crab sandwiches or stuff like that.
And is seafood your thing?
Yeah, no, I like seafood. Seed fish. I like seafood. There's a really good, I don't know the name of it, but there is a really good Japanese restaurant in Limerick where she's based. I can't think of the name of it. It's on the main street, on O'Connell Street. But that's a really good Japanese place for sushi and stuff like that.
Very good. And say she leaves you alone for a night. She's gone. There's nobody in the house. It's a wintry, crappy night like it is tonight. You're making yourself a big bowl of comfort food. What are you making?
It depends. My go-to tends to be pasta. I get it. Fresh pasta in even something cheap and cheerful in Lidl and Aldi, but it's fresh, and I'll just reduce down some chopped tomatoes maybe with a bit of spice, and But yeah, I'm not a big massive meat fan myself. Like I do like meat, but I tend to avoid it because it's a bit to do with just how greasy it is on like the mess it makes on a frying pan and stuff. I just
You don't
try
like
and
the
avoid
cleanup.
that. Yeah, that's kind of it. And I do. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like yeah, just a simple pasta with a really nice rich tomato sauce with a bit of fresh parmesan on top,
Glass of wine.
with maybe like yeah, a nice glass of red as well, maybe.
Excuse me. And if you were to go back to your youth or to your childhood or to a time or a place, Barcelona or some of the travels you've done with the band, is there a food that you would eat that would bring you straight back somewhere? I call it the ratatouille moment, like in that movie Ratatouille, when the critic eats the ratatouille. Is there something that brings you to a certain time and place?
Um, there is a bit, yeah. To be not. I have a terrible memory, so I wouldn't go that far back. I know that like the earliest memory I have of something that I'd remember the exact taste, which is funny because it's such a simple dish, and I don't even know what it's called. It's like a dessert. It's like macaroni or something. It's like a little creamy pasta dessert. Do you
Cannoli?
ever hear of it? I don't know, but it's not like
Is it like a tube
it's
with the
not.
cream in the middle?
Yeah, but it's a sweet cream like it, so
Yeah,
it's like
it's
a dessert.
cannoli, I think. You know, in The
Or
Godfather,
maybe
leave
that's.
leave the gun, bring the
It's
cannoli.
really skinny now. It's like quite skinny. It's like penne, but much thinner and around that same length.
Mm. Where did you have it?
My auntie Carmel used to make that for us, and she'd make a few things. She'd make like semolina, which I was
Mm.
never a big fan of,
No.
but she'd make this lovely simple pasta dessert. It sounds disgusting because I'm saying pasta, but yeah, that's what it tends to be. Always it's Italian, to be honest with you. Like I'm massive. I'm a massive pizza fan. I think pizza is genius, depending on what. But like it can be like it can be such because it's such a different level of variety and standard to pizza. Like it can be just like a standard, boring, pretty tasteless pizza, but then it can just knock your socks off with flavor.
Mm. What's your toppings of choice?
It depends, but I'd either go real classic, but I do like a lot of tomato once it's nice. I'm not, I like a nice heavy tomato base, cheese, obviously, pepperoni, and you're gonna hate this, pineapple.
Oh no,
Sometimes.
I'm all for pineapple. I'm all for
Oh, on
pineapple.
pizza?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm a
yeah,
traditionalist like yourself, an Irish
yeah.
traditional pizza.
Basil is lovely on pizza, depending on the.
Yeah. And would you cook much yourself? Pizza?
I actually got a pizza making kit in work about 2 weeks ago, and I, for what I could do with it anyway, I did okay. Like the dough was already made, but no, I've made pizza from scratch. But anything that's that tedious, I have to have a lot of time. Like a lot of like it's rare that I'd be like, all right, I'm bored. I know I've all day to make something like this.
Too busy
But
writing
no,
songs.
I definitely get the tomato stuff down. The base, because like it wouldn't be just simple. I'd reduce the crap out of that with garlics and wine and spices and make sure that's really really nice.
Lovely. And if there's an ingredient you love, I mean, I know you mentioned tomatoes a lot, but if there's one ingredient or one food you can't live without, what is it?
It would have to be probably
Ham sandwiches.
cheese. No, it'd be like cheeses. Yeah, cheese and fresh pasta, and
Yeah.
obviously tomatoes.
No,
And
one
maybe peanut
ingredient. One
butter.
ingredient, Podge.
One, just one.
Yeah. The one you couldn't
Does
live
it have to,
without.
does it have to be practical?
No, it can be anything at all.
Yeah, then I go with cheese.
Cheese. All cheese. What's
Yeah.
your cheeses of choice?
I love obviously strong cheddar, white strong cheddar, Parmesan, Camembert is lovely. Blue cheese, I really like blue cheese with
All
certain
of it then.
things. It's lovely. Mostly, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the mushroomy kind of brie cheeses, but I like. That's the thing. I like the kind of cheeses that some people can't even like get repulsed by the strong, smelly ones like that.
You put them on sardine sandwiches.
Need to be sealed in a security hut like somewhere.
And on the flip side of that, you got to get rid of something. There's something you hate. I know you said earlier on you like all foods. Is there anything that you would happily do away with?
Yeah, it's a fairly harmless one, but dill. I'm not a big fan of dill, and I'm not a big fan of celery. And
You're the second person to bring up celery. I can't believe celery is so offensive to people.
I don't like those kind of pre-dried herbs.
Yeah.
Just like a cheap sort of mixed herbs, is it?
Yeah, you don't like that.
Yeah. No. Like if you poured all that in a tomato sauce, I'd be devastated.
It's all about the fresh.
I don't know what. No, it's not because it's not fresh. It's just that there's this flavor there that I just don't like. I don't know what it is.
Okay, interesting. So you get rid of herbs, dried herbs, or celery, or dill. Which one are you picking? You're trying to have them all, and I'm not letting you.
No, because celery is good with chicken wings. I'll go with. Actually, I'll tell you. I'll go with dried herbs because dill has its tiny little moments where it can shine as well.
Okay, so dried herbs.
Dried herbs are just always crap.
Okay, a couple of listener questions just before we move on from food. Lindsay381, who I think is a sister-in-law of yours, wants to know, Can you please come back to Kells and teach your brother how to cook? Your brother is Barry. Is he not a good chef?
That's Barry. I don't honestly know. I'm sure he's grand. I'm sure he's well able to do most of the important stuff anyway.
Not going by his wife.
He's not one of these like I can't boil an egg people anyway.
Sharon Carroll and Barry Murray. Despite the band name, what is your favorite filling in sandwiches?
It's a tough one between cheese, like because I like a bit of everything in the sandwich, so it'd be a tough one between a cheese and a meat, like maybe like a baked ham or a good strong cheddar.
Or a baked ham and a good strong cheddar sandwich.
With chutney.
With chutney, there you go. And then there's one from B. O'Neill 05, who you know well. If you were to tour with hot chocolate and M&M, would you call the tour the meal deal?
I'd call it melty brains.
And then the last one is from a Podge sandwich. He says, how do you do it? We've done enough of that one, I think. Okay, let's go on and talk about drink. So we did a good bit already with the band and everything. We talked about writers. We talked about gigging. Do you have a good relationship with drink outside of the band? I mean, was there a danger there, gigging the whole time and being in a band, that you would fall into the rock and roll hedonistic lifestyle?
I don't know. See, I'm in a way, I'm genuinely just dangerously inconsistent. Like it's one of my biggest faults. I think it's just I'm probably even making myself sound worse than I really am. But I chop and change the whole time. I go through phases, so I'm never able to commit to anything really.
You don't apply yourself to your drinking.
Sort of, exactly. Like there's weekends where I'd be like, Jesus, this is great crack. Go full on, but yeah, I just don't have it in me. Like I was drinking on Friday night and I got very drunk and was meant to be drinking Saturday night, and I was like, no, just I don't know. I definitely do like my drink, but I'm not a big like beer lager lout or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I don't have any drink that I'm just constantly drinking, and I'm not, I do like Buckfast, but it's something I kind of definitely I've wound down from a lot.
You nearly became the Buckfast kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The Buckfast representatives, or you were nearly sponsored by Buckfast at one stage in the band.
The ambassador.
The ambassador, very good. Do you remember your first drink?
I think so, but like it's funny because I don't know if I'm sure everyone can relate to this, but it was mad. Neither of my parents are big drinkers. My father's like actually a pioneer. He doesn't drink at all. He has like 2 or 3 non-alcoholic becks maybe every 2 weeks sort of thing. But my mother drinks Baileys and West Coast Cooler, and that's nearly about it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they used to have a big drinks cabinet in our old house, like the first family house I was reared in anyway, and it wasn't even locked, and it was absolutely loaded with different drinks, like Inferno and all sorts of crap, like real nasty stuff, Tia Maria. And I think considering, I'm not just saying that, considering it was free for all, myself and my brother Barry weren't that tempted. I think my parents had cleverly made us think that it was, that it was vile. Well, I suppose it was kind of anyway. But I think my first drink was the first time getting drunk. I remember I was 10 and I had like a bottle and a half of West Coast Cooler and I was loving it. I was loving life. It was in Kells and I snuck it. I don't know how I managed to sneak it into me, but I did. So that, I think it would have been West Coast Cooler at about 10. But then the next time I really only properly drank, I coaxed a load of people from Kells to go out to a forest. So it was my idea. I think my parents were literally away for a day, and for some reason I took a notion, and we all managed to get like flagons of cider from, the classic. We sent McLovin in to get us cider, and we went to the forest, about 6 of us, and every one of us got hammered on nothing. Like probably had like a half a flagon of cider, and went into a Ned's arcade at the time. And I'm pretty sure we got stung. Like I can't remember how or why, but we were locked and we got stung. I think my brother John found one of us like getting sick somewhere or something.
And I'm reliably informed that you were once prescribed a pint of Guinness a day because of your iron levels.
Yeah, that's true. When I was 8, I was very, very sick. I was in draw at the hospital, and for 2 months solid, I was drinking it. Yeah, I was drinking Guinness every day when I was 8, and I hated it. It was disgusting from a can. But the weirdest thing is, all my friends were mad jealous because I'd be there drinking like a glass of Guinness beside my folks, and they just couldn't comprehend what.
Oh, that's so funny. Prescribed a pint of Guinness at 8 years old. That is mental. Do you have a favorite drink? You walk into a pub, what do you order?
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends, but if I knew the Guinness was good, I go Guinness usually. But then that can get heavy. So in a way, I'm lucky because there's a lot that I could go for. There's a lot that I'd like. I never really was a big cider man, but I'd still maybe it'd be probably one of the last things I think of. But it'd be either gin and tonic or a whiskey and ginger ale or a pint of Guinness.
I got a question. I can't remember.
Ideally, not a strong one.
I got a question. I can't remember who it was, but it was on Mumford and Sons Rider. Is it just artisan cheeses and English cider?
I can't remember. I'm sure there was plenty of Guinness as well. They're big Guinness heads.
Big Guinness heads. Do you have a favorite pub? What's your local actually?
I have a few. Just depends. Well, if you're talking Dublin, it would be there'd be a few I really like. Just the Harold House is good. O'Connell's up on is it Richmond Road maybe? Don't know. It's called O'Connell's anyway. It's near Portobello Bridge. That's a great spot. Whelan's is obviously
the place.
Yeah, like you'd be kind of lost without Whelan's because you have the late hours as well. And it's always been friendly. The staff there are just like they've always got great bouncers there. I'm kind of too friendly with the bouncers. I don't know what that means, but so Whelan's, Burke's Bar is lovely in Whelan's, and then there'd be On Shot is very nice. MVP, great for cocktails, and then in Kells there's like I'm not really down in Kells much, so I'm kind of out of the loop there. I don't know what's the place to be. I remember getting a good pint in Annie Mae's on the corner. Do you know, is that it? Annie Mae's?
Yeah. And what about Smokey's back in the day?
There. Oh, I can't believe I forgot Smokey Joe's.
Yep.
Smokey Joe's is the best pub in Kells, but it's never open. It's open like Friday, Saturday. But it's like you walk in and time stands still, and all they have is Guinness on tap. That's the only drink they have on tap. They have a Carlsberg, what do you want to call it? The tap.
Yeah. But
it hasn't been used in 20 years. And like I'm pretty sure there's like if you get a big round, pencil and paper comes out and it's all written down and maths and subtractions. But yeah, Smokies is brilliant. So it's so relaxing. And if you go there on Christmas, they light a fire just right beside the bar, and there's like a gang of our lads playing poker and cards in a corner. But it's there's nowhere like it now.
I used to go
Very
to it
rare.
on Stevens's Day, and what I used to love about it was in every pub in the country, you'll get a pristine Guinness glass with the Guinness in it, and it's perfect. In there, you get a Harp glass, you get a Bud glass, and you'd be thankful for it.
Yeah, but it'd be stunning Guinness.
Yeah, it's great Guinness, but there's no nonsense.
Yeah.
There's no messing around with glasses and beer mats.
And they've good whiskey as well, but like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I don't know what it is. So that place is just brilliant.
How do you handle hangovers these days? Have you a cure?
I find it might sound hilarious, but I find number one, I'm lucky I don't smoke because that used to really add to it. And then something as small as leaving a window open, getting a lot of air into your room at night, like because the circulation of fresh air will help. It definitely.
Interesting.
Help.
Haven't come across that one before.
And then I suppose what you're eating before you drink, I think is a big thing. Because I like I said, I could easily go through 9 different drinks in one night. I've no steadiness, which is terrible. But I know that if you have a decent bit of food, like if you're at a wedding and you're eating good food all day, you can kind of get away with drinking a lot. You'll be tired the next day, but you won't be a write-off.
Okay, we might leave it there for the first part, and we will be back in just a minute for part 2. Welcome back to the chopping block, where my guest this week is Podge McNamee of Ham Sandwich. So every week I ask my guests for a recipe, something that they cook or they love having cooked for them. I then take the recipe, I cook it, and I share it on my Instagram story. So Podge, what's on your recipe for me this week?
Cool. So unfortunately, this is going to be fairly in depth for you, but it's a one pot wonder really. So
Excellent.
in one way, it's nice, but knowing you with your food and your spices and everything, I think you'll have a lot of spices, do you? Because if you have spices, you're laughing.
Yeah.
But basically, it's up to you now. You can have it vegetarian or you can have it. It'll be beef. So it'd either be beef brisket or mince, but it's entirely up to you.
Okay.
But basically, I don't know what it's called exactly. It does probably have a name, but it's a dark chocolate coffee chili bean casserole type thing.
Wow. Interesting. Talk me through it.
So basically, I used to live with this guy called John Miller, and we lived together for about 5 years, and then we actually went back living with each other. But he's a great cook, and he'd go through brilliant phases where he'd spend like weeks making the one thing and he'd perfect it, and then he'd go off and he'd make like pizzas and perfect it, make real pasta from scratch. But this is one of the dishes that he made. There was about 3 things that really jumped out at me that he made that were amazing. Like he'd do an incredible pulled pork, but this one's probably the easiest one, and it's like you make it and you're done for about 3 or 4 days, and you'll have amazing dinner every day for about 3 or 4 days. Because it's a big. You have to make it in a big pot.
I've never made anything with chocolate and coffee as a savoury dish, so I'm very, very interested in this. Go for it. Okay,
well I'll try and you make the coffee ideally if you can fresh, or your favorite coffee. That'll be fine. So then you make that, and then ideally, hang on, I have it written here. So the chilies you use ideally would be dried ancho. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or poblano chilies.
Okay, so I'm going to have to go on the hunt for these. This is good.
You don't have to get them because essentially the last time I made it, it was every bit as good, really. It probably just lacks a tiny bit of that sweetness, like that extra, the spicy sweetness. But so anyway, I got like just fresh chilies in a bag from Lidl or Aldi, like perfect. Chop them up. Try not to make it too spicy, obviously, because it can take a lot because there's a lot going on and it does subdue the spice. But obviously you don't want to completely ruin it where it's just going to burn the absolute mouth off you on every spoonful. So, but this is one cool trick is infuse the coffee with this. Infuse like the chopped chilies into the coffee and leave them there for at least an hour, and let it soak into the coffee. So then you just do the usual, like you just cut some onions up, garlic, loads of garlic. I think I used something like 7 cloves of garlic, maybe even
Wow.
8 cloves of garlic in the last one I did. Depends on how much you like garlic. So onions. So then I used what did I use? I used chopped tomatoes. I think I used two tins of chopped tomatoes, a full tin of butter beans, a full tin of kidney beans, obviously draining out the stuff.
Yeah.
Some chopped peppers, not green, because it's just going to be too bitter with the green one. So any yellow, orange, red is fine. I think I used around 2 in total.
Okay.
1 red, 1 yellow. What else? So yeah, so you kind of soften all the veg as much as you can, even to the point where you're kind of getting color on the onions, and but make sure that as much as the more water you drain off the better, because it's just going to be full of flavor.
Okay.
And then you just add in the coffee. It doesn't really matter. I don't remember having a specific order, but the thing is, wait for the near enough to the end to add the chocolate, and I add about half a bar of chocolate. The Lidl or Aldi ones that do about 100 grams.
The really dark ones, I'm guessing, is it 75%?
Yeah,
85%?
there's one. Yeah, anything over 60. So 60 onwards. There's a really nice one called Peru in Lidl. Actually, it's 60%, and it's incredible. Anyway, so you could eat the other half on its own, and it's amazing. But yeah, just break that up and let it all infuse. And what am I missing? I think that's kind of it. If you want to put mince, or you do it the normal way, you'd fry off the mince or fry off the meat and let it stew and soften in the whole mix.
Let it blip away for a few hours.
But yeah, so what I forgot here is obviously, there's loads of spices. So you have like 2 heaped teaspoons of smoked paprika, 1 heaped teaspoon of dried oregano, 2 fresh bay leaves, 2 red onions as well. If you have cinnamon sticks, I never bother with that. Obviously black pepper, ground, bit of salt. Make sure you just get all, when you're softening all your onions, red onions, white onions, garlic, peppers, to get all the spices in, get them all in. Then when they're softened, and mix it through, and you'll tell straight away you're going to get a lovely smell between the mixture. That's kind of it.
What kind of consistency am I looking for?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. If you put in too much chocolate, it's going to be very rich. It'll still be lovely, but it's going to be very heavy.
I mean, should it be like a stew, or should it be like a sauce?
Almost closer to a sauce. It'll be reasonably thick. It won't be wet. It won't be watery.
Very good. This sounds really interesting.
Watery, it's delicious. And then what you do is you put it with I find, just out of kind of just what I had at the time, obviously you could put rice with it. If you're making this for a big gang of people, you'd put like a nice simple white rice with it. But I remember once I didn't have rice, and I just luckily had a couple of frozen pita breads in the freezer, and just toasted them up and put some mashed avocado with a bit of seasoned mashed avocado into that with the mix, and then some sour cream, or what's the other one? Creme fraiche, either or.
This sounds incredible, Podge. I'm very impressed.
It's easy enough, because it's just about not forgetting stuff and chucking it all in.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I think you have to get right here is soften. I think the same applies with all things. Like if I'm making a stew, just make sure the onions aren't still full of water and everything's, kind of raw.
Yeah.
If you soften everything, you're going to be laughing.
Very good. So I do enjoy one pot wonders. I've had quite a few one pot wonders, and I love that, chucking them all in, trying to get it right, and then putting a big bowl of something in front of a gang. Yeah. The problem I've had the past while is I've been cooking them for a big gang, but there's only 2 of us here, so we pig out on it, because during COVID you can't have people over. But chocolate, coffee, and bean casserole.
Yeah.
Deadly. Brilliant. So the coffee is nearly like the stock on it.
Yeah. You can put beef stock in as well. I can't remember if I did, but just that's the beauty of it. There's a lot you can do with it. So if you have it all done and you taste it and you're not happy if it's too thick, you can add a bit of, you can add water, you can put a bit of beef stock if it's not heavy enough, or there's a lot you can do. But yeah, try and put about 500 mils of coffee, like two full Americano type cups of coffee in. So plenty of coffee. and roughly half a bar of dark chocolate. Maybe a little bit less than half a bar, but definitely
Brilliant.
not more because it gets crazy.
So,
And the thing is, that's what I love about it. You'll have it and you won't think this is coffee and chocolate.
because
And
the
then
reason I started doing this and asking for the recipe is because I want to try things I've never tried before, and to see things that other people like. And I've never used coffee and chocolate, as I said. So this is gonna be so cool.
yeah,
I might have a job convincing my missus that coffee and chocolate in a casserole is worth doing, which we look after them.
you would literally not even need to say it, and they're going to be guessing. Dee's going to be guessing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to it. So Podge's chocolate, coffee, and bean casserole. I'll probably do it with pittas or some kind of bread because I'm a bread head. So that's cool. That's going to be deadly. I will put that on my Instagram, Podge. You can critique it yourself. Let me know what you think.
I'd say the funny thing is, I'm not just saying this. I'd say you'd easily top my because I have only done this about 3 times and I'm kind of still working with it. But like it's a win-win. It's nearly impossible not to get it at least satisfactory. Like we're going to be very happy.
Good. Okay, so that'll be on my Instagram probably Monday or tomorrow if you're listening to this on Sunday. So let's come to the end. So the pressure part is over for you. This is all about enjoyment. This is your perfect meal. So I've been telling people perfect meal or death row dinner. They're all going for death row dinner, but you can do whatever you like. So as a base, I'm giving you 3 courses, drinks to match, but you can add or change anything you want. It's your meal, do as you wish. If you'd like a musically themed, outrageously rock and roll meal, you could go for a smashing pumpkin soup. You could go meatloaf with corn, maybe a nice lamb chop and a little salt and pepper, and then finish off with a nice refreshing vanilla ice. Or you can have whatever you want. So Podge, what's on your perfect menu?
I hope I got this right because I went full on greedy.
Okay, good.
And like very unrealistic as well.
This is perfect meal where nothing is off limits. You can have anything you want. You do whatever you want.
And can you travel between countries?
You can go anywhere you want. Of course you can.
Okay, here we go. Brilliant. All right, sorted. Right, so I'd start off, I'd fly to Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I'd go into a restaurant called Marlowe and Sons, and I'd get a plate of oysters there, and then a whiskey sour after that.
What are you going to drink with the oysters?
Maybe a red wine, maybe a Bordeaux.
Okay, and did they make a good whiskey sour?
They do, everything in there is unbelievable. It's one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. Yeah, it's now it's America, so it's incredibly expensive. So apart from that, it's just on the foot of Brooklyn Bridge, and it's been there decades. Really, really stunning restaurant.
Cool. Okay, so you've finished oysters. You've had your
finished my oysters. It's early, and I'm going to nip down to Di Fara's Pizza, also in Brooklyn, and get a slice of probably one of the best pizzas in the world. And it's made by a guy who's been making pizzas since he was like 10, and he's in his 90s. He's still there. He takes the pizzas out of the oven by hand because he's like been at it so long, his hands just don't have any feeling in them anymore. But the pizzas are absolutely crazy good. Crazy good. So I did that, and then I'd follow that up.
Hold on. Don't be rushing. What are you drinking with pizza?
I never thought of that, but now that you mention it, I might as well. While I'm in Brooklyn, I'll get something from the Brooklyn Brewery, like a beer, some sort of a light session beer, just to, the pizza is very, very heavy, but it's incredible. I'd highly recommend looking it up. They're called Di Fara's Pizza. It's the only pizza place that I follow on Instagram. I practically know them. So then from there I would go. I reckon I'd have to get one of my girlfriend's signature dishes. She's from Poland, and she makes this incredible classic Polish dish. It's a beetroot soup with wild mushroom dumplings. I cannot pronounce it now. It's BARSZCZ, like Barsh.
Oh, Barsh.
CZERYONY. Yeah. Anyway, I did well there. It's a beetroot soup, which sounds, it doesn't sound immediately appealing.
I love beetroot soup.
It's incredible. It takes a whole day to make, though, like at least a day, whatever goes on. But yeah, that's famous. Like some of her friends pretty much like hound her for, like, she has a thing where she goes to Galway every Christmas to 2 of her best friends, and that's like always a must on the menu. Like I'd say they kick her out of the house if she didn't make the beetroot soup. So I'd go for that. And then I go to this is ridiculous.
No, this is
Sorry.
good.
I go to Hanoi next. I'm nearly there. Don't worry. I go to Hanoi in Vietnam, and there's literally like a food stall on the street, like a little tiny. It looks like a hot dog stand style stall, and they do the most outrageously good bami you'll ever have. They're kind of small, so you'd need two of them, but you can't describe it. Like I swear to God, I know it's just I'm describing a sandwich like it's like
What is a bami?
changing my life. A bami is a famous. It's like essentially the chicken fillet roll of Vietnam, but it's better than it. It's way better than a chicken fillet roll. It's I don't know exactly what they do, but there's usually like there could be pate in it. It's on a crispy baguette, really fresh and kind of small crispy baguette, and it's like pickled carrots, pickled radon, I think it's called, or rayon. It's like a big white, giant white sort of a thing. But you could use pickled cucumber. You could use pickled. What else could you use? There's loads of different things you could use. But anyway, and it has like sriracha sauce, mayonnaise, usually like a kind of a pork bits that are fried in, a kind of a sweet sauce. And it has coriander. And that is kind of about it. But you can get a tofu version of it, but it's just amazing. It's starting to pick up here. You can get it in Ireland. Like I've yet to have one in Ireland that was not even like they haven't even come close. Yeah.
So is the Irish version like bao buns?
No, that would be the soft white sort of. I know the things are on it, but they're lovely though as well. But no, it's essentially looks like it's French. Like I think Hanoi and France have a kind of a connection. Do they? Or did I make that up?
No, you're probably right.
But,
all these colonialists.
But it's like a baguette, a French baguette, but with like Asian kind of stuff in it, like the coriander. Like I know people hate coriander, so if you don't like coriander, it's out because that's a massive part of it.
So from Hanoi, you're going to?
I'm going to my gaff in Dublin.
Very good.
And I'm going to make my own lasagna.
Okay.
As the big main.
What's so special about your own lasagna?
I don't know. I just I make it with love. That's all I need to tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
I take way too long.
No such thing as way too long when it comes to lasagna.
I've never managed to figure out how to do it efficiently, but I genuinely, that's about the only thing when I want to put my, into cooking wise, if I want to get something right, I can nail it with lasagna, but I just need probably about 2 more hours than a normal person would.
No, if you rush a lasagna, it's not going to taste well. Lasagna takes time and patience and effort. Yeah. Pretty good. And you're going to drink anything with this? You keep forgetting the drink. For a man who enjoys the drink.
I'll have a book fast. I'm joking.
Bit of ice, nice and lime.
I'd probably have like a cocktail, or something cool, or maybe like a cold red. I don't know which one, but like, the way you can get a nice cold red wine. The ones that they're chilled.
Yeah, a little bit chilled. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. And then so two from the end now, right? So I'd have a pre-dessert again. I go back to my girlfriend Magda. She makes this incredible peanut butter mousse. So it's like a chocolate peanut butter mousse, and she usually serves it in a glass. And God knows how she does it, but I swear to God, it's one of the nicest things you'll definitely eat. That's in a glass anyway.
Yeah.
But she uses the water from chickpeas and blends that. I don't know if you've ever used that. And it nearly becomes like a cream. I know it sounds terrible. It sounds wrong, but it's why it's so good.
I won't knock it till I tried it. The water from chickpeas.
Yeah. So she drains the water from chickpeas into a mixing jug and gets a hand blender and blends it till it's like a whip. It almost looks like cream nearly.
Wow.
And then she puts in peanut butter and whips that, I think. I don't know how she does it, but yeah. So it's like a blend of peanut, like a kind of a moussey peanut butter, but it's delicious. And then like a layer of like a kind of melted, slightly dark chocolate. And then I think there's like fruit things on top. But it's exceptional. It's really good.
I might be getting in touch with you after this to get your girlfriend to send me on that recipe. Sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, she's lots of kind of one of a kinds that she does. She does an incredible veggie sausage actually. it's miles better than any of them you get in the shops like Linda McCartney. Right? I'm trying to force her into a business. Genuinely, they're that good.
Yeah, it's funny. If I was to give Dee a chocolate and coffee casserole and a chickpea cream dessert, she'd think there was something seriously going on with me. Right, go on. Your last dessert then. What are you going to have?
So, last one I might have a dessert wine. I'm not that up on wines, to be honest. I do like a couple of wines. Like I try to remember ones I like. There's two I can quickly recommend. There's one called Luna, Luna. It's not from Lidl. It has a kind of an orange coloured label. It's Italian. It's usually sold in O'Brien's, and it's in around the kind of €14 mark, and it's outrageously good. Like, I swear to God, if you like red wine, nearly anyone who's ever tried it it's like that next wine with you. You know? And then there's another one called Artuki. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's Aortuke, and it's a Rioja. And again, it's around the same price range, but it's
top job
every time. Yeah, you know the way sometimes you have to be in the mood for a red wine.
Yeah, and
it doesn't sit like these are the kind of wines. Doesn't matter what the day or what the time, just always good. So I'd have. Sorry, I was totally waffling there. I'd have a white dessert. I'd have a white dessert wine, like maybe can't pronounce it. It begins with a G. It's a German one.
Gewürztraminer.
That's the one, I think. I'd have that, and I'd have a G&T, like a gin and tonic cheesecake from the Grogan's pub in Glassoon. I don't know if you know Grogan's in Glassoon. Do you?
Yeah, I haven't had the cheesecake though.
Unbelievable place.
Yeah.
So I'd have that, and then I'd probably top off the night with a few pints of Guinness in there.
And you're happy out.
Then I'd be ready for the chair.
Well, you've pretty much travelled the world, bud. So you've earned a bit of a sleep after all that. Okay, great last meal. Hanoi, Brooklyn, Dublin. Did I leave any of those?
And Athlone.
And Athlone. Oh, yeah. The hotspots of world cuisine.
Ended all in the epicenter of the world, the middle of the world, Longford.
Okay, great meal.
Or Westmeath?
I think it's on the border. I think it's kind of straddling the two. Great meal. A lot of thought went into it.
I thought I'd go in depth.
Dead right. So that's us finished. That's been really, really fun. A lot of things I wouldn't have known about you before.
Well, hopefully I've enlightened you in one or two ways at least.
Yeah, you have. Lasagna with love is something that's not going to leave me quickly. So thanks again, Podge. If you'd like to follow Podge, he's at Podge Sandwich on Insta and Twitter, and you can find Ham Sandwich there too. You can find all of Ham Sandwich's stuff on Spotify or on CD or vinyl, depending on how old school you are. I've already mentioned how good they are live, so when we finally get rid of COVID, get yourselves a big bottle of Buckfast and tickets for their first gig back, and I will definitely see you there. Would it be too much to ask that you could have your traditional Christmas gig in Whelan's again?
I know. Yeah. Can only dream.
Only dream. Thanks to you, the listener, for staying with us to the end. If you like what you heard, subscribe wherever you got your pods. We're everywhere, really. It'd be lovely if you recommend us to some of your foodie friends to help us get the word out. We're across all the usual social media platforms too. We use Instagram the most, but we're on Twitter and Facebook as well. Remember Podge's chocolate, coffee, and bean casserole. It will be on my Insta story this week if you want to give it a try. If you do cook it, take a photo, share it. Feel free to tag us in it. Tag Podge in it, and we'll show it off for you to the world. So that's all from me. Thanks again, Podge.
I'd be over the moon if even one person outside of you cooks it. I think it'd be pretty class.
Yeah, so it's a good buzz when people cook your stuff. Yeah. Thanks, Podge, and to all of you, farewell, stay safe, and we will chat to you next time on The Chopping Block.